God, whose mercy is profound, whose kindness is everlasting. This is the 10th episode of a series of presentations which attempt at understanding as to who the son of Abraham was, who was sacrificed at the call of the Almighty. We are actually trying to understand the contents of a research conducted by Mr. Abdus Sattar Ghauri, who is a research scholar of Al-Mawrid, and Al-Mawrid is an institute located primarily in Lahore in Pakistan, which conducts independent research on Islam as well as on other religions. The presentation that I am going to make right now is a continuation of the last one, wherein there were a number of questions raised by the author himself and then answered. He goes on to answer those questions. As an alternative presentation or a possibility of the question as to which place can be identified as the Moriah that has been described in the book of Genesis, chapter 22. The next question that Mr. Ghauri raises when it comes to the possibility of accepting Al-Marwa in Mecca next to the Holy Kaaba, the question that he raises is that are there any other traditions confirming Arabs' links with Abraham and Ismail? And in his book, he answers this question by saying that there does exist the tradition of circumcision, which had been strictly observed amongst the Arabs to represent the tradition of their ancestors. Abraham and Ismail, their ancestors Abraham and Ismail. Islam extended the continuation of this tradition amongst its followers in the same way as it has been observed amongst the Jews as a sign of Abraham's covenant. Had the Arabs not been the descendants of Abraham through his son Ismail, there had been no question of their observing this tradition and their attributing it to Abraham and Ismail. It is not without significance that the Encyclopedia Biblica has observed that the rite of circumcision may have been the typification of the tradition of offering the firstborn. Flavius Josephus has also observed in his Antiquities, written more than 500 years before the advent of Islam, that the rite of circumcision had been exercised amongst the Arabians to commemorate the circumcision of the founder of their nation, Ismail. Then the next question that he raises is that is there any sanctuary in the vicinity of Al-Marwa? And he answers this question by mentioning that there is the sanctuary of Al-Kaaba in the vicinity of this Al-Marwa or Moriah, whose construction has been assigned to the patriarchs Abraham and Ismail, and there is reasonable evidence of the perpetuity of this tradition. He quotes C.E. Bosworth, who attests the antiquity of Al-Kaaba in Encyclopedia Americana in the following words: the Kaaba was almost certainly an important shrine of a well-attested Semitic pattern in pre-Islamic times. It is not clear when it was first associated with the rites of the pilgrimage, which itself must be of pre-Islamic origin. Muslim tradition traces it to Abraham and Ismail. The Prophet Muhammad cleansed the Kaaba of its idols and its pagan features in 630 AD. The next question that the author raises is any proofs that the Kaaba was constructed by Abraham and Ismail? Are there any evidences about it? And he goes on to answer in the same manner as he had answered question number 6 previously, whereby he described the evidence of Mijam, the trough that is there close to the Kaaba, and also the Maqam Ibrahim, which is a monument that has the footmarks of Ibrahim that somehow continue to remain there imprinted right from the beginning, and they are a testimony to the fact that it was Abraham who was there to construct the sanctuary. Then he raises the next question, which is Are there any proofs of Isaac's links with Moriah? And he goes on to answer this question by saying that there is neither in the Bible nor in the traditions of the Arabs any evidence of Isaac having ever been to some Moriah, nor is there any evidence in the Bible or the annals of history in favor of the progeny of Isaac having frequented Moriah for offering sacrifices and performing any pilgrimage. The next question that he raises is, are there any details of death and burial of Hagar and Ishmael, as we have the details of Abraham, Isaac, and Sarah in the Bible? And he answers to this question by saying that the Bible is totally silent about Ishmael and Hagar's burying places, whereas it states categorically that the cave of Machpelah at Hebron in Canaan was the burial ground of Abraham, his wife Sarah, and his son Isaac. Another question that he raises is there any established tradition of the place of burial of Ishmael and his mother other than in the Bible? And he says that the answer is a positive yes. A. J. Wensink and J. Jomier, in their article on Kaaba in Encyclopedia of Islam, write, the space Al-Hatim bears the name Al-Hijr or Hijr Ismail. Here are said to be the graves of the patriarch and his mother Hagar. The New Standard Encyclopedia observes, Ishmael, son of Abraham and Hagar, he was exiled with his mother to the wilderness on account of Sarah's jealousy of him. He married an Egyptian, was famed as an archer, and was buried in Mecca. Muhammad claimed him as an ancestor. The last of the questions that he raises is, why has the reality of Al-Marwa kept in ambiguity and has not been made clear? And to this, the author has answered by saying that the question about the reality of Al-Marwa has remained unclear because some of the followers of the Bible wanted to attach reverence and respect to their forefather Isaac. The chronicler forged for them the basis for this ambition through arbitrarily attributing the name of Moriah to the site of the threshing floor of Arona the Jebusite. This ambiguity would never have gained ground had the chronicler not imposed it in his chronicles to attach sanctity to the Solomon's temple. It is interesting to note that the Chronicles had long been a non-canonical and rejected book. This is what the author has concluded with regard to the question of which place is Moriah. It is extremely important that we take into account the arguments presented by the author and refuse to be biased, to be emotionally inclined towards one point of view or the other. Indeed, it is a difficult task to come out of one's own traditional understanding and to look objectively at the real facts. But the fact of the matter is that that is what the trial of this life is all about. That is to know the truth no matter where it comes from and to acknowledge it. And most certainly the one who acknowledges truth, no matter wherever it appears from, is the one who is the real, genuine seeker after truth. May God Almighty enable all of us, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and everybody, to make earnest attempts to know what the truth is, and may He enable us to follow it diligently.